it's TheFilmist, and right now we're going to talk about two of the more highly anticipated recent releases from Arrow Video, one that just came out last week, and one that just hit stores on Tuesday. Now, I pre-ordered both of these in anticipation of making this video here. These are both highly anticipated by I know myself, and also, of course, the very particularly niche crowd that Arrow Video caters to, and these are Mike Hodges, Flash Gordon, and Dave Twohy's Pitch Black. I can't mug like most of the people who do this. So Flash Gordon is a film I watched a lot when I was younger. You know, it's bold, it's colorful, it's satirical, and witty in its style. It's got a soundtrack by Queen that's just full of absolute bangers all the way through. It's directed by Mike Hodges, whose other great film, Get Carter's one of my personal favorites. It's basically a live-action cartoon, gloriously over the top in its style, aesthetic, and filled to the brim with a smirking sort of self-awareness that propels it along at a breezy clip. Now, we'll get to it a bit more when discussing one of the more particularly interesting special features on the set, but Flash Gordon's a character whose on-screen history before this led to some rather intriguing developments elsewhere. The rights of the character were regarded religiously by ultra-mobile Dino De Laurentiis, of course, you know, for those who are into horror, who don't know him. I mean, I'm sure that most people who are watching this, all two of you, are familiar with who he is, at least in some minor way. But he also owned the rights to, like, Silence of the Lambs and a bunch of other famous property that became franchises. So he had the rights to this character. He bought them off of Alex Raymond directly, possibly, I don't know, or he acquired them in some way. He fielded offers from pretty much everybody to direct an adaptation, from directors as disparate as Federico Fellini, Sergio Leone, George Lucas, and Nicholas Roeg. The Roeg seems like the biggest outlier here, and we'll talk about him in more detail momentarily when we get to that part of the set. But Lucas, after being rebuffed, took the ideas he developed for his pitch and retrofitted them into his own space opera, and that became Star Wars. Now, I have an idea that Laurentiis never had a bigger regret after that, considering what happened to Star Wars and then what happened to Flash Gordon afterwards. Anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and take a look at the set itself. Alright, so Arrow's limited edition release of Flash Gordon maintains the high watermark of design that their previous beautiful limited edition releases have established. On the front, we have the wonderful hand-painted cover, and the back I haven't actually removed the J card yet. You know, I'm actually kind of particular about that with these. This release is actually double taped, which doesn't really typically occur, at least in my experience. The set is housed, like all of their limited releases, in the thick chipboard cases that I love so much for their feeling of like definite heft. And it's I actually wish Criterion would use these more often, rather than the thin boarding of some of the more recent digipacks. Once inside, let's take a look inside. This over here, you know. Now, once inside, we get the prerequisite Arrow accoutrements with their limited releases. We get, of course, this is cool. I like this quite a bit. A double-sided poster. I always love when they put these in here. And on the one side, we get a full representation of the cover art, the new painting for the cover art, and on the other side, of course, the original theatrical one sheet as well. That's always so cool. We also get a 60-page book this year with beautiful artwork, and of course it's a nice thick bound book as well, which they always have, which they always do so well with their limited releases. This has articles by Kat Ellinger, Neil Stoden, John Paul Checkett, A.K. Benedict, and most interesting, and the one that I'm most excited to read, by Dennis Cazilio, whose site Sergio Leone and the Enfield Fly Rule is, and always has been, a must for some of the best online film criticism out there. And of course, notes on the restoration, just like any Arrow or Criterion release. As with all of Arrow's limited packages, the books included are essential literature comprised of both new and archival material, and I can't wait to peek through. So I'll put that over there very gingerly, because that's who I am. Now inside, oh, and of course, as with most Arrow releases, either standard or limited, we have a reversible cover once you remove the secondary disc. Inside we actually get an ad for, and I'm actually not this up on Arrow's releases. I don't know if they released Black Rainbow, but it's also by Mike Hodges as well. And behind that, and of course there's an ad for other things, we get a series of lobby card reproductions, which, you know, I don't know anybody personally who takes these out and displays them, but they are always a plus for these kind of sets. I mean, the artwork on the back is always beautiful. This is one of my favorite posters for the film. I used to actually have a small version of that. Fantastic stuff, you know, and that's a standard, of course, with these limited releases that Arrow does, being Once You. So, having taken a look at that, and while I fumble trying to get them back into the slot, we also have, of course, the 2 discs the set comes with here, which on the first disc of the film, with its own antecedent features and things like that, and then also the documentary Life After Flash, which is about the main actor, and of course the entire cult of Flash Gordon that's arisen in the years since. Which is funny because it wasn't a terribly reviewed film when it came out, but I guess its, you know, particular sense of visual styling was only kind of grew in popularity as the audience who watched it grew up. You know, so of course you have cats like they mentioned on here. Of course, Edgar Wright's a huge fan of it. Taika Waititi, and I'm sure that's something to, well, of course, Seth MacFarlane in Ted, as I'm sure everybody recalls now. That's the physical package itself. Now, I'm only going to give a brief overview of the special features here, because that's always the most procedural part of doing this kind of stuff. We'll start from the top. So, on disc 1, which is the feature film, we actually get we get an archival audio commentary by Mike Hodges, and I actually don't know how archival that is, because I know there was another release of this film that just came out earlier this year, which I'll get to in a second. We get audio commentary with Brian Blessed. It's alive. We get interviews, of course, with Sam Jones. We get Melody Anderson, Brian Blessed, Queen icon Brian May, composer Howard Blake, poster designer Renato Cesario, behind the scenes of Flash Gordon, an archival documentary on the making of the film. We get more interviews with Mike Hodges, screenwriter Lorenzo Simple Jr. This is cool. Alex Ross, the comic book artist, who's a huge fan of Flash Gordon. He actually, I believe he designed some of the art that you can find on some of the cards in here. Now, here's the real interesting part. Here's when I mentioned Nicholas Rogue earlier in the opening. There is, as a matter of fact, a special feature here, which is the one that I'm most interested in getting into. Lost in Space, Nick Rogue's Flash Gordon, which is a new documentary program exploring the version of Rogue had originally planned to make with producer Dino De Laurentiis. Rogue has long been one of my favorite filmmakers in the entire world, off the strength of Don't Look Now, Walkabout, The Man Who Fell to Earth alone. His is a very specific worldview, and particularly with the latter 2 films, he has a habit of taking what would in other hands be more prosaic genre formula and using it as a means of exploration, whether horror or sci-fi, and I have no doubt that his Flash Gordon would have been the same, and perhaps more to the liking of Laurentiis, in the end, who made his distaste for the intentional camp style of Hodges' work well known, claiming it didn't take itself seriously enough. I bet he was a lot of fun at parties. So, it's a pretty stock edition. Now, here's the curious thing. Back in July, this is kind of curious, it was Arrow Video, I believe, in conjunction with Studio Canal, who did the restoration of this film and gathered all the archival materials and so And back in July, I believe that Studio Canal actually released their own Region B version of Flash Gordon as well. But I believe, and I could be wrong, totally, but I believe that this Flash Gordon is one of Arrow's like all region releases. So it's curious because this release actually ports over most of the special features that are on that Studio Canal release, and that just came out back in July, so it's not even like a month past. I could be totally wrong, and they could just own the Region B rights for this, and this could just be an Arrow Region A release. But I thought that was kind of curious. Definitely pick this up as soon as you can. It is a limited edition, although there is a standard version, or standard single disc version, as they usually put out. Now this is, for me, not just because of the presentation of the film itself, although the restoration, which I have taken a look at, really, it's just, the film is already one of the most colorful 80s sci-fi films out there. It's, it's a wash in all this just like bombastic, it's just like pelting you in the face with color, and this makes that even more vibrant, even more alive, and it's just great. That's fantastic, but also the physical presentation of the film itself is, of course, much like everything in Arrow's limited release line, is just A1. It's A1. It's fucking A1. It's a home run for Arrow. So, yeah. Now, we're going to talk about another film, and this is Pitch Black. This is a pretty exaggerated angle. Is there a reason we're in this angle? No, but I've been wanting to use it since I started doing this stuff. Now, Pitch Black was a film that was pretty much on repeat in my house about 2 years ago, and for good reason. Now, while I'm probably in the minority of people who actually kind of enjoy Chronicles of Riddick for how kind of like goofy and over the top and just like go for broke epic it is, there's no comparison between it and David Twohy's best film. This is a fantastic piece of genre fun, kind of blending action and horror inside of a sci-fi context in a bleached out environment, which is supremely over-stylized through the use of bleach bypass. And it introduced the world, of course, to the fantastic, or the world at large, rather, because I know he'd done some smaller stuff previously, to the growly, goofy drawl of Vin Diesel. It has a sensational visual style because of that use of bleach bypass that basically reduces a lot of the film almost to monochrome, which is really cool. It moves along at a really, really kinetic pace. It's a very pure narrative, it's very much like a run across the wasteland, but almost kind of like it's almost like an old western, I guess, although the Indians here, where would-be Indians in an old western, are here replaced by scary night monster aliens. It's a run across the wasteland. It's a blend of Aliens and Mad Max, with just a touch of Stagecoach, if you like, thrown in, with Vin Diesel as the John Wayne character. That just happened. Take that, John Wayne. So, let's go ahead and get into this right now, if we may. Now, this is a standard AR release. It does have a slipcase, which I know was actually a point of curiosity, because I think Arrow sent out a press release saying that the 4K release wasn't going to have a slipcase with it. This one does, and it actually has some pretty fantastic comic book pop style artwork, which I'm a big fan of. And it's actually duotone, because the front here is this beautiful sort of sun-drenched look here with silhouette of Vin Diesel and all that. You know, we look kind of alike, I think, right? And then underneath, we get, of course, the night version. And in the backing, of course, see a little bit of all the monsters that are hunting him, and his cataracted eyes, and so on. So now, we've given this terrible angle a shot. We'll see how it works in the post room, so to speak, which is also this phone. But right now, let's go to camera B, which is actually the same camera in a different setup, to take a look at what's inside. So as previously, we're going to take it from the top here, of course. As stated previously, of course, we have our cover art, which is duotone. We're going to go ahead and take off this slipcase here. Inside, like I said, this is just a standard single disc released by Arrow, and you have the reversible packaging, which I believe is just the sun-drenched variation that you see on the slipcase. We get our book here, and our given little ads. One's the same here. We get one for Zombie for Sale. This is, of course, a smaller book, which actually has just 2 articles in it, but they both look rather interesting. One is by Simon Ward, which is a contemporary article. This is an archival one, and we actually have another archival one about the 2 actually. We get the production notes, which I can't wait to go through as well. I wonder what they say about this new guy Vin Diesel and what's wrong with his voice. We get notes on the restoration, as is standard, of course. And that's pretty much it. Of course, that's the standard Arrow disc release innards. So now that we've done that, that was a bit quicker, I know. I mean, there's not with these releases, you come for what's on the disc. For the standard releases, I think you come for what's on the disc rather than, of course, any particular variation in packaging, as you might find with like the limited releases or so on. So now that we've done that, let's take a look, of course, at the special features, as before. See, look, guys, I'm developing a formula. So, once again, like Flash Gordon, I'm just going to go through a brief run-through of the special features here, because, I mean, there's not much that I can tell you about them. I mean, this one I actually haven't checked out. I haven't peeked at it like I did with Flash Gordon before I started doing this video, but I'm just going to give you a run-through, and I actually kind of look forward to checking out most of these here, because this single disc release is actually just as stocked as the Flash Gordon release, which, at least as far as like what's on the disc itself, although there's no secondary feature. A lot of what I'm seeing right here, just from taking a brief look at it, are ported over special features from the older DVD and Blu-ray releases of the film, but I'll point those out where we come to them. So we actually get 2 cuts of the film on this disc, the theatrical and director's cut, and I don't know what the difference would be between either one of those or the other. I just know that I believe I watched the theatrical cut quite a bit when it was common currency in my house. My monitor's in frame. Let's push it out. So yeah, we get the theatrical and the director's cuts here, which are both restored. We get sight and sound gibberish. We get an archival commentary with director David Twohy, stars Vin Diesel and Cole Hauser. We get archival commentary with, again, director David Twohy, the producer Tom Engelman, and visual effects supervisor Peter Chang. I hope I said that right. My apologies if I didn't. We get Nightfall, the making of Pitch Black, which is a new interview, newly filmed with director David Twohy. Black Box, Jackie's Journey, a newly recorded interview with actor Rihanna Griffith. Black Box, Shazza's Last Stand. Black Box, Shazza's Last Stand, a newly recorded interview with actor Claudia Black. Black Box, oh my god. Black Box. Black Box Bleach Bypass, a newly recorded interview with cinematographer David Egby. Now that I'm actually kind of interested in, because David Egby, even though it was deemed similar, of course, you guys know I had to go into this, even though it was Dean Simler, of course, who kind of was responsible for crafting the look of the 2 films that I think influenced this movie's visual language, not even a little bit, Mad Max 2 and Beyond Thunderdome with George Miller. It was David Egby who was a cinematographer with George Miller on the first Mad Max, and which is funny because that was more pastoral in environment, I guess, and also urban as well in certain places. So that's rather interesting there. I can't wait to hear him because he's actually worked on a lot of fantastic stuff, much like Dean Summer. They're both rather prolific, so I can't, we get Black Box Cryolocked, a newly recorded interview with visual effects supervisor Peter Chang. Black Box Primal Sounds, I swear to God. A newly recorded interview with composer Graham Revelle, who, he's actually been doing a lot of stuff recently, I believe. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff that he did for The Crow recently. The Making of Pitch Black, which is a short behind-the-scenes featurette, that was on the old Blu-ray release. That's an archival. Pitch Black Raw, which is a comparison between early CG tests and the final footage. That's a newer one, I believe. We have additional behind-the-scenes footage from the making of the film. That's archival. And here, of course, are more archival bonus features that they actually do notate. 2004 archive bonus features, including an introduction by Tohi, A View into the Dark, and Chronicles of Riddick Visual Encyclopedia. I think he's kind of hedging his bets here on this release. I don't think he's assuming that Chronicles of Riddick's ever going to get any kind of boutique release. John's Chase Log, a short prequel narrated by Cole Hauser detailing the character's hunt for Riddick. Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury in 16:9. Was it 16:9 in the original release? I'm not sure, but that's kind of like a tie-in, like a bridge between Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick. Kind of, I guess, I never really watched it. I know that a lot of people did, but it was meant to explain, I guess, kind of like the change in tone, where this film is, like I said, a more pure, stripped-down narrative, kind of just like a thriller, make it across the landscape type of thing. Chronicles of Riddick is an over-the-top, bombastic, just completely nutso takeoff on everything that Dave Tohi and Vin Diesel love, including 80s sci-fi novels. There's a little bit of Isaac Asimov in there. There's a lot of Star Wars in there. It's just a complete shift in tone. There's a ton of Dune in there as well. It's a conflagration of influences, and it succeeds somewhat. For me, at the very least, because it's the most goofy thing in the world, because in the middle of it, you've got Vin Diesel basically playing a parody of himself in this film, because in this film, of course, he's the mysterious mercenary who's, a famous killer, known throughout the, well, not famous, but he is, he's the badass character. He's mysterious, and you're not sure what he's going to do. And in that film, Chronicles of Riddick, Dave Tohi and Vin Diesel made the choice to turn him into basically Clint Eastwood times 11. Like they turn the notch up to 11 and then just rip it off, right? He's the most badass. He's the most capable. He's more stoic than anyone you've ever met in your entire life. I've always wanted to get like a shirt that just said, "I'll kill you with my teacup," but not yet. Anyway, that's going to be interesting to watch. We get Dark Fury bonus features, including Bridging the Gap, Peter Chung, The Mind of an Animator, A View into the Light, and a pre-animation version of the film. Slam City, which is a motion comic from the film's official website. Into Pitch Black, which is a TV special, an older TV special, offering an alternative non-canon glimpse into what happened before and after the events of the film. Rave World, Pitch Black event. Footage of a dance music event held to promote the film. That's going to be kind of cool to check out, in particular because I wasn't like a guy in the scene, but like if there was anything that like I liked to do when I was younger, when I was like 18 to 19, whenever I got the opportunity, it was go to raves. And there's no raves out here in where I am in Austin like there were in Dallas, and so this is going to be kind of, because I haven't even tried to search them out, I've just been too busy, so it's going to be kind of fun to watch. And then, of course, theatrical trailers and trailers for the 2 sequels in the video game. And that's that, right? Now, I don't know if there are any differences between this release and the 4K release that I believe comes out later on next month. I have no interest in checking that out because I am rebelling against the proliferation of 4K. I think it's stupid. I think there's no need for it. You don't need to go higher than Blu-ray for home video release. But of course, that's just my own unpopular opinion. I just broke the 4th wall and moved the camera. Did y'all see that? That being said, this is also a fantastic release as well. You know, Arrow of late has been taking a lot of heat because I guess, well, not a lot of heat, you know. They've been taking a little bit of heat, I've been reading, which has been kind of shocking to me, but they have been taking a little bit of heat on the places where people talk about this stuff, because recently they've been releasing, on their main Arrow video line, which both of these aren't Arrow Academy, they're just regular Arrow video, they've been releasing a lot of schlock, which, you know, has always been kind of a facet of Arrow video. And I think, too, the same applies to Criterion as well. People have been saying, you know, oh, well, it's nice that you guys, I mean, you guys are really sticking to your niche of, like, very particular kind of art film that no one, you know, that nobody's seen, rather than this film that I want, or this kind of film that I want. But I think the two are evenly matched, and I definitely think that this year, in terms of releases, have been one of the best for both Arrow and for Criterion. I believe, definitely in the last 2 years, I believe it was either this year or last year that we got at least 3 fantastic releases from Arrow, which, Old Boy, you know, it's fantastic, RoboCop, and then I think Flash Gordon, as well, is one of those as well. And I know that Arrow's had other releases that I just haven't picked up yet, like some of their larger releases and things like that. So I believe that about covers it there. Oh, and also, of course, not to make things unbalanced with that comparison, I believe Criterion's also had that as well this year. We've gotten the Varda set, you know. We've gotten the Bruce Lee set this last sale. We're getting Fellini in November, a big giant box set of Fellini films. We've got the Elephant Man in September. We've got a ton of releases that are just a wide berth, a wide range. Moonstruck was kind of surprisingly announced just yesterday, which that kind of shocked me. I mean, I know it was a well-regarded film, but I didn't believe that Criterion would add it to their line, at the very least not so soon. The Irishman, which is definitely exciting. It's definitely cool to see Netflix and Criterion working so closely together, but like this and Roma. Okay, now that finally about covers it for our review of these two. One moment. These two Arrow releases, of course, once again, that is Flash Gordon by Mike Hodges and Dave Tolke's Pitch Black, and these are both fantastic genre releases, just plain fun, and even more than that. You know, Arrow Video, I would say, much like people say that Criterion is film school in a box, I would say that Arrow is like that as well if you're another type of filmmaker, or even the same type of filmmaker who has a wide taste, wants to learn from you know, a wider variety of teachers. So we're going to put these over here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was educational. I hope it was fun. I feel we've grown closer. I will say that in the next 4 days, I have a project that I'm rather interested in doing. It's going to be another one of these full-on lecture essay videos where you get this to look at for 15 minutes. But it's going to be a longer essay that I'm writing off of just kind of a moment of inspiration. It's a sort of an essay about, I guess, the relationship between Jules Dawson's Night in the City and the Safdie brothers' Uncut Gems, which are probably the two most closely related films across the span of time in film noir that I've ever seen. And then also a brief talk about Detour as well, Edward G. Olmer's Detour. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.